Have you noticed that the hardest storms in life never announce themselves? They do not knock on your door. They do not ask if you are ready. They arrive without warning, tearing through your peace, shaking everything you thought was secure, and leaving you standing in the middle of questions you never wanted to ask. One phone call changes everything. One betrayal shatters years of trust. One accusation stains a reputation you spent a lifetime building. One season of silence, you wonder if anyone truly sees your pain. If you are listening to these words with tears hidden behind a smile, with exhaustion buried beneath your daily routine, with a heart that has grown weary from carrying burdens nobody else understands, then do not turn away. Stay with me, because this message may be exactly what your soul has been waiting for. You may believe that your storm is too fierce, your wounds too deep, your disappointments too heavy, but hear this with every part of your being. Your story is not ending inside the storm. God has not abandoned you. God has not forgotten your name. God has not stepped away simply because the winds became stronger. What if the very storm that convinced you that you were alone is actually revealing that God has been closer than ever before? What if the darkness that frightened you is not evidence of God's absence, but proof that He is preparing a victory too great to be understood before its time? The enemy wants you to measure your future by your present pain. Fear wants you to believe that because the night has lasted so long, the morning will never come. But fear has always been a liar. Your circumstances may be screaming defeat, but God speaks louder than every circumstance. The voices around you may say, "It's over, give up. Nobody is coming, nobody cares." Yet there is a voice greater than every voice of despair, and today it is calling your heart to rise again. You have survived days that you thought would destroy you. You have walked through nights when your own tears became your closest companion. You have endured betrayal from people you would have sacrificed everything for. You have been misunderstood by those who never took the time to know your heart. You have been judged by people who never fought your battles. Still, somehow you are here. That is not an accident. That is not luck. That is not coincidence. That is the unseen hand of God carrying you when your own strength had already disappeared. You thought you were holding yourself together, but it was God holding you together. You thought you had one last ounce of strength, but it was God breathing courage into a soul that was ready to collapse. Listen carefully, because this may change the way you see every painful chapter of your life. Storms do not have the final word. God does. The waves may rise, the winds may roar, and people may walk away, but none of those things have the authority to rewrite the purpose God has placed upon your life. The storm is loud, but God is greater. The storm is real, but God is stronger. The storm may surround you, but it cannot separate you from the one whose power reaches beyond every fear, every wound, every betrayal, and every impossible situation. Hold on just a little longer. Do not surrender your hope at the very moment when heaven is preparing a breakthrough you cannot yet see. The storm is not your destination. It is only the place where you will discover that God's strength is far greater than anything that has ever tried to break you. There is something that nobody tells you when life begins to fall apart. The deepest pain is not always the problem itself. Sometimes the deepest pain comes from discovering who disappears when your world starts shaking. There are people who celebrated you while the skies were clear, but the moment the winds grew violent, they quietly stepped away. There are people who promised they would never leave you, yet they vanished the very moment your strength began to fade. There are people who smiled in your presence, but questioned your character behind your back. Some even built their own comfort on top of your suffering. They misunderstood your silence as weakness. They misinterpreted your patience as surrender. They assumed that because you were struggling, God must have abandoned you. But they could only see the storm around you. They could not see the hand that was holding you within it. That is why you must never allow the opinions of people to become louder than the promises of God. Human voices change with circumstances. Human loyalty often depends on convenience. Human approval can disappear overnight, but God does not wake up one day and decide to stop being faithful. God does not change his mind because your situation has become difficult. The one who carried you through yesterday's impossible battle is still carrying you today, even if your emotions cannot feel his presence. You may be asking yourself a question that has echoed through your heart countless times. If God is with me, then why has this storm lasted so long? Why did he allow the betrayal? Why didn't he stop the false accusations? Why did he remain silent while I was breaking inside? Those questions do not make you weak. They reveal the weight you have been carrying. Yet notice something extraordinary. Every storm has a way of exposing what calm seasons can hide. When everything is comfortable, almost anyone can claim to have faith. It is easy to speak confidently when the bank account is full, when relationships are healthy, when doors are opening, and when life seems predictable. But storms reveal what comfort never can. They uncover the foundation beneath your feet. They expose the voices you have been trusting. They reveal whether your confidence was built upon changing circumstances or upon the unchanging character of God. Sometimes God allows the winds to remove every false support so you can discover that he alone has been your true foundation all along. Think about how often fear tries to become your interpreter during difficult seasons. Every delay becomes permanent failure. Every closed door becomes the end of your purpose. Every painful memory becomes proof that nothing good will ever happen again. Fear has an incredible ability to make temporary pain feel like an eternal sentence. It whispers, "This is how your story ends. You will never recover. You will never smile the same way again. You will never trust anyone again." But fear speaks without authority. Fear predicts a future it cannot control. Fear magnifies the storm while shrinking your vision of God. Do not allow fear to narrate a story that belongs to God. The one who created your future is not intimidated by your present. The one who sees the end from the beginning has never been surprised by the chapter you are living today. Before the first cloud appeared over your life, God already knew every tear you would cry, every battle you would fight, every disappointment you would endure, and every victory he would bring out of what looked impossible. Perhaps the hardest part of your storm has not been the circumstances themselves, but the loneliness. You kept showing up while nobody noticed your struggle. You kept encouraging others while your own heart was quietly falling apart. You carried responsibilities with trembling hands because you believed that if you stopped moving, everything around you would collapse. You laughed when people expected you to laugh. You answered, "I'm fine," because explaining your pain felt more exhausting than hiding it. Deep inside, however, there were nights when you wondered whether anyone truly understood what was happening inside your soul. Listen carefully to this truth. Your loneliness has never meant you were abandoned. Isolation may describe your circumstances, but it does not describe your relationship with God. Even when every human voice becomes silent, God's attention never leaves you for a single moment. While others only see your public smile, God sees every silent tear that falls where nobody else is watching. While others judge your actions without understanding your battles, God knows every unseen burden you have been carrying. While others measure your life by appearances, God measures your heart with perfect understanding. You have never cried a tear that escaped His notice. You have never whispered a desperate prayer that disappeared into emptiness. Every sigh, every question, every sleepless night has been witnessed by the one whose compassion never grows tired. That is why you must refuse to mistake silence for absence. Just because God is not working in the way you expected does not mean He is no longer working. The strongest roots grow beneath the surface where no one can see them. The greatest transformations often happen in places hidden from human eyes. Right now, while you are asking why nothing seems to be changing, God may be strengthening parts of your character that success alone could never build. He may be teaching you a dependence that comfort could never produce. He may be preparing you to carry blessings that would have crushed the version of you that existed before the storm. The process feels painful because growth often does. Yet when you look back one day, you may discover that the season you begged God to remove became the very season that revealed His faithfulness more clearly than any other chapter of your life. So do not let go now. The storm may still be raging, but the God who carries you has never once been shaken, and He will not release His hold on you until He has safely brought you through every wind that rises against your life. There is another battle that almost nobody talks about because it happens where no one else can see it. It is not the storm outside you that threatens you the most. It is the storm that tries to build a home inside your mind. Long before people give up physically, many surrender internally. The moment your thoughts begin to agree with hopelessness, the storm starts claiming territory it was never meant to have. That is why the greatest battlefield is often your own heart. Every morning, you wake up with two voices competing for your attention. One says, nothing will change. You have already lost too much. Look at everything that has gone wrong. The other whispers, stand up again. God is still writing your story. This chapter is painful, but it is not permanent. The question is not whether those voices exist. The question is which one you will believe. Whatever you feed will become stronger. If you keep feeding fear, fear will become your lens. If you keep feeding disappointment, disappointment will become your expectation. But if you choose to fix your heart on the faithfulness of God, even while the wind is still blowing, something remarkable begins to happen. The storm may remain around you for a season, but it loses the power to control what is happening within you. The enemy does not always need to destroy your future if he can convince you to abandon it yourself. Think about that for a moment. He does not always need to close every door. Sometimes he only needs to make you believe that every door is already closed. He does not always need to remove your strength. Sometimes he simply whispers until you forget that God is your strength. This is why discouragement is so dangerous. It is slow, it is quiet, it does not arrive with thunder. It settles into your thoughts one sentence at a time. Why pray anymore? Why keep believing? Why keep trying? Nothing is changing. Those questions sound harmless at first, but if they are left unanswered, they begin to reshape the way you see your entire life. Before long, you stop expecting goodness. You stop looking beyond the pain. You begin making permanent decisions based on temporary emotions. Yet God is calling you to interrupt that cycle before it becomes your identity. You are not the voice of despair echoing in your mind. You are not the accusations spoken against you. You are not defined by the betrayal that wounded you or the rejection that tried to convince you that you were unworthy. Your identity is not built by the opinions of people. It is secured by the God who knew your name before anyone else ever spoke it. Remember the days when you thought one more disappointment would completely break you? Remember the nights when sleep refused to come because your mind replayed every painful conversation, every unfair accusation, every moment of rejection? You wondered if your heart would ever feel light again. You questioned whether joy belonged to someone else but not to you. Yet somehow you survived. You are still breathing. You are still standing. You are still searching for hope. That is not because the storm showed mercy. Storms never show mercy. It is because God's mercy was greater than the storm's power. Every breath you took when your soul was exhausted was sustained by Him. Every step forward that felt impossible was strengthened by Him. Even when you believed your faith had become too weak, God's faithfulness never weakened. His commitment to carry you has never depended on the size of your courage. If it did, none of us would survive life's darkest seasons. He carries you because His character does not change. He remains steadfast when your emotions fluctuate. He remains faithful when your confidence rises and falls. He remains present when every visible sign seems to suggest otherwise. So stop measuring God's activity only by what your eyes can see. Some of the greatest works of God begin in complete silence. A builder lays the deepest foundation before anyone admires the finished structure. A seed grows unseen before anyone celebrates the harvest. In the same way, God often prepares His greatest answers beneath the surface of ordinary days, hidden behind delays that seem impossible to understand. You may think nothing is happening because you cannot yet see the outcome. But the absence of visible evidence is not the absence of God's work. While you are waiting, He is strengthening your patience. While you are weeping, He is shaping your endurance. While you are wondering if you have been forgotten, He is arranging moments that will one day make you realize that not a single tear was wasted. One day, you will look back at this storm, not with bitterness, but with awe. You will realize that the waves that tried to drown your hope became the very place where you discovered how securely God was holding you. You will understand that when your own strength finally reached its limit, God's strength had only just begun to reveal itself. And on that day, you will no longer remember yourself as the person who was defeated by the storm. You will remember yourself as the one whom God faithfully carried through every single moment of it, never loosening His grip, never turning away, and never failing to complete what He had already begun in your life. One of the greatest deceptions the storm will ever whisper is this: because you cannot see the way forward, there is no way forward. That lie has imprisoned countless hearts. You stand at the edge of uncertainty, searching for answers, but every direction seems covered in darkness. You pray, yet the situation appears unchanged. You wait, yet the silence continues. You hope, yet another disappointment arrives. Slowly, without even noticing it, you begin to confuse God's silence with God's absence. But those are not the same thing. The silence of God has never meant the abandonment of God. There are moments when God speaks loudly, and there are moments when He works quietly. The loud moments encourage your faith. but the quiet moments mature it. Anyone can believe when miracles happen immediately. It takes a transformed heart to keep trusting when heaven seems silent. That is the place where your confidence is no longer resting on visible evidence, but on the unchanging character of God. The storm demands proof before it will let you have peace. God invites you to experience peace before the proof arrives. That is why your circumstances cannot be allowed to become your greatest authority. Circumstances change with the wind. God's faithfulness does not. Have you ever noticed that storms strip away everything that was never strong enough to remain? They remove illusions. They expose false foundations. They reveal relationships that were built only on comfort and convenience. Some people walk beside you only because your road was smooth. The moment your journey became difficult, they quietly found another path. Their departure wounded you because you believed they were permanent. But what if God allowed their absence because they were never meant to carry the weight of your future? Sometimes we grieve over people who walked away without realizing they had already stopped believing in us long before they left. We spend months asking, why did they abandon me? While God is asking, why are you still trying to hold on to someone who already released their grip? Every storm reveals who truly belongs in your life and who only belonged to a season. That revelation hurts because love always makes separation painful. Yet there is mercy hidden inside the pain. God will never allow temporary people to permanently destroy the purpose He has prepared for you. Their rejection may bruise your heart, but it cannot cancel what God has already decided. Their opinions may damage your confidence for a season, but they cannot rewrite the destiny that God continues to protect with His own power. There will also be moments when the greatest battle is not against the voices outside you, but against the accusations within you. You begin blaming yourself for everything that went wrong. You replay every decision, wondering if one different choice could have prevented all this suffering. You ask yourself whether you failed, whether you were too trusting, too forgiving, too patient, or simply not enough. Guilt becomes a prison with invisible walls. Regret becomes a chain that follows you into every new day. But listen carefully. There is wisdom in learning from yesterday, and there is destruction in living inside yesterday. God never intended your past to become the place where your future dies. The lessons of your pain are valuable, but the prison of your pain is not. Do not let yesterday become more powerful than the God who holds your tomorrow. The mistakes you made do not surprise Him. The betrayal you experienced did not catch Him off guard. The tears you cried did not disappear into emptiness. He has seen every hidden wound, every silent disappointment, every unanswered question. He knows the chapters you are ashamed to talk about, and still, He has not withdrawn His hand from your life. That alone should remind you that your worth has never been measured by your worst day. So I want you to make a decision that may feel impossible, but will change the direction of your soul. Refuse to let the storm tell you who you are. You are not the person people falsely accused. You are not the label placed upon you by those who never understood your heart. You are not the betrayal that broke your trust. You are not the failure that tried to define your future. You belong to the God whose strength is never exhausted, whose wisdom never fails, whose compassion never runs dry. If He has carried you through every painful day until this very moment, why would He suddenly stop now? The same hand that lifted you when you thought you could not stand is still beneath you today. Same God who gave you breath when despair surrounded you is still breathing courage into your weary spirit. Lift your eyes beyond the clouds. The storm may still be loud, but it is no longer the highest authority over your life. God's purpose stands above every wave. His promises rise higher than every fear. His power reaches further than every attack against you. Hold tightly to that truth, because the day is coming when the very storm that tried to convince you that you were finished will become undeniable evidence that God never stopped carrying you, not for a single heartbeat, not through a single tear, not through a single battle, and not through a single moment when you believed you were walking alone. There will come a moment in every storm when you reach the end of your own strength. Not the kind of tiredness that sleep can fix. Not the kind of exhaustion that disappears after a quiet weekend. I am talking about the kind of weariness that settles deep inside your soul, where even hope begins to feel heavy. You keep moving because you have responsibilities. You keep smiling because people expect you to be strong. You keep saying, "I'm all right," because you are tired of explaining a pain that words can never fully describe. Yet when the day is over and the room grows quiet, you finally admit what you have been hiding from everyone else. You whisper, "God, I cannot carry this anymore." If that is where you are today, do not be ashamed of your weakness. Do not believe the lie that faith means pretending to be unbreakable. Some people think strength means never crying. Others believe courage means never feeling afraid. But real strength is found in the person who, after every disappointment, every betrayal, every unanswered question, still turns toward God instead of away from Him. That is not weakness. That is the deepest form of trust. When your own hands can no longer hold the weight, God's hands are more than enough. When your heart says, "I have nothing left," God says, "Then let my strength become everything you need." Perhaps you have been asking God to remove the storm, while God has been preparing to transform you within it. That is a difficult truth to accept, because none of us naturally welcome pain. We want immediate answers. We want instant breakthroughs. We want every difficult chapter to end the moment it begins. But imagine if every challenge disappeared the instant you prayed. Would you ever discover how deeply God can sustain you? Would you ever learn that His peace is stronger than panic? Would you ever realize that His wisdom is greater than your confusion? Some lessons cannot be learned in comfort, because comfort never asks hard questions. Storms force you to examine where your confidence truly rests. They expose every hidden fear, every false security, every fragile expectation. Then, slowly and patiently, God begins replacing those broken foundations with something that cannot be shaken. You may not enjoy the process, but one day you will thank God that He refused to leave you unchanged. The storm that felt like destruction will be remembered as the place where your character became stronger than your circumstances. You will discover that God was not trying to weaken you. He was preparing you to carry a future that required greater endurance, deeper wisdom, and unshakable dependence upon Him. Never forget that storms have an expiration date, even when they feel endless. The longest night still surrenders to the morning. The darkest cloud cannot stop the sky from clearing forever. Your emotions may insist that this season will last for the rest of your life, but emotions are not the architects of your future. God is. He has never written a story where pain was the only chapter. There is always another page. There is always another sunrise. There is always another opportunity for His faithfulness to become visible in ways you never expected. The danger is that many people walk away just before that page is turned. They surrender their hope moments before the breakthrough they had been praying for. They allow temporary disappointment to convince them that permanent defeat is inevitable. Do not make that mistake. Hold on even when your hands are trembling. Believe even when your eyes are filled with tears. Continue walking, even when each step feels painfully slow. You do not need to understand every detail of God's plan in order to trust the one who is leading you through it. Your understanding has limits. God's wisdom does not. Your vision reaches only as far as today's horizon. God's vision stretches beyond every tomorrow you cannot yet imagine. One day, the people who doubted you may witness a version of your life they never expected to see. Not because your goal is to prove them wrong, but because God's faithfulness cannot remain hidden forever. The same people who questioned your integrity may one day recognize the strength that suffering produced within you. The same voices that dismissed your future may become silent when they see what God has accomplished. But do not wait for that day in order to find peace. If your healing depends upon human recognition, your heart will always remain vulnerable. Let God become your validation. Let His approval become greater than public applause. Let His truth become louder than every accusation ever spoken against you. You do not need every person to understand your journey for your journey to have purpose. You do not need everyone to believe in you when the God who formed you has never stopped believing in the purpose He placed inside you. People's opinions rise and fall like the wind, but God's commitment to your life stands firm through every season. Build your confidence there, because that foundation will never collapse. So lift your head, even if it is only by a small measure today. Breathe again, even if your heart still feels bruised. Pray again, even if your last prayer seemed to disappear into silence. Trust again, even if betrayal has made trust feel dangerous. Hope again, even if disappointment has visited your life more times than celebration. Every act of faith, no matter how small it seems, is a declaration that the storm will not become your master. Every decision to keep believing is a refusal to let darkness write the final sentence of your story. God has carried you across valleys you thought would bury you. He has sustained you through heartbreaks that should have destroyed your peace. He has protected your mind when fear tried to consume it, and preserved your spirit when loneliness tried to convince you that nobody cared. He has not brought you this far to leave you in the middle of the storm. The winds may continue for a while, the rain may still fall, and the path ahead may not yet be clear. But beneath every uncertain step is the unwavering strength of God. He is carrying you now just as surely as He carried you yesterday. And He will continue carrying you until the day you look back with tears of gratitude and realize that every storm which threatened to break you became another testimony that God's faithful hands never loosened their grip on your life. There is one final truth I want you to carry in your heart long after these words have faded. Your greatest victory will not be that the storm disappeared. Your greatest victory will be that the storm could not change who God created you to become. The winds came with the intention of breaking your spirit, but instead they revealed the strength that God had been building inside you all along. The waves rose to drown your hope, yet every wave became another reminder that God's hand reaches deeper than any ocean of fear. The darkness surrounded you, but it could not extinguish the light that God placed within your soul. People may remember the storm, but heaven remembers your perseverance. People may remember your tears, but God remembers every moment you refuse to surrender. Every silent prayer, every trembling step, every lonely night, every painful goodbye, every battle fought behind closed doors has been seen by the one who never looked away. Not one moment of your suffering has been meaningless. Not one wound has been ignored. Not one cry has fallen into emptiness. God has been writing purpose into places where you only saw pain, planting strength where you only felt weakness, and preparing blessings where you believed only loss remained. So, from this moment forward, refuse to introduce yourself by your scars. You are not the person who was abandoned. You are not the one defined by betrayal. You are not the accusation spoken against you, the rejection you endured, the opportunity you lost, or the disappointment that nearly crushed your spirit. Those things happen to you, but they are not who you are. You belong to the God whose power is greater than every storm that has ever stood in your path. When fear whispers that another wave is coming, answer it with confidence that God is already there before the wave arrives. When anxiety tells you that tomorrow will only repeat yesterday's pain, remember that God has never been limited by what happened yesterday. Every new sunrise is another opportunity for His faithfulness to be revealed. Every new breath is evidence that your purpose is still alive. As long as God continues to give you life, He has not finished writing your story. There are victories you have not yet celebrated, prayers you have not yet seen answered, doors you have not yet walked through, peace you have not yet experienced, and moments of joy that will make today's tears seem like a distant memory. Hold on to that promise with everything you have. One day you will stand on the other side of this season, and you will look back with eyes that see what your pain could never understand. You will realize that the nights you thought would destroy, you actually deepened your dependence upon God. The betrayals that broke your heart taught you to build your confidence on something that people could never take away. The delays that frustrated you protected you from paths that were never meant for you. The silence that confused you taught you to recognize God's faithfulness even when you could not hear His voice. You will discover that what felt like the end was often the beginning of something greater than you could have imagined. The storm was never stronger than God. It was never greater than His purpose. It was never powerful enough to cancel the future He had already prepared for you. The enemy measured your weakness, but God measured His own strength. People measured your failures, but God measured His endless mercy. You measured the size of the storm, but God already knew the size of your victory. So stand up again. Wipe away the tears that have fallen in secret. Lift your eyes beyond the clouds that have tried to steal your vision. Let your heart breathe again. Let hope rise again. Refuse to let despair become your permanent language. Refuse to let fear decide your future. Refuse to let disappointment have the final word. The storm may still be roaring, but it is no longer your master. God is. The winds may still blow, but they cannot remove you from the hands that formed you, sustained you, and continue to carry you. Walk forward with quiet confidence, not because every problem has disappeared, but because the God who has never failed is walking with you through every step you take. And when the day finally comes that the clouds part and the sky becomes clear, you will not simply celebrate that you survived. You will fall to your knees with overwhelming gratitude, because you will know beyond every doubt that it was never your own strength that brought you this far. It was God. It has always been God. It will always be God. The one who carried you through every storm, held you through every tear, strengthened you through every battle, and never, not for a single moment, let you fall from his faithful hands. There are moments in life when you look at the road ahead and realize you do not know where you are going. You wake up with plans, with goals, with dreams, but something inside you whispers, there must be more than this. You see, human wisdom can only take you so far. The mind can strategize, but it cannot see the unseen. The heart can desire, but it cannot discern the hidden path. That is why you must allow God to lead you every single day of your life. Because when God leads you, even the wilderness becomes a way. When God leads you, even the impossible bends to his command. When God leads you, confusion turns into clarity, weakness turns into strength, and fear turns into faith. Too many people live as though they are their own guide. They wake up and chase what they want. They fight for what they think they deserve. They plan without asking. They move without listening. And they end up wondering why peace never comes. But a person who allows God to lead them does not live in confusion. They may walk through storms, but they walk with direction. They may be surrounded by noise, but they move in silence. Because they know that God's leadership is not about speed, it's about purpose. It's not about what looks right, it's about what is right. When God leads you, he will sometimes take you through valleys not to punish you, but to prepare you. He will close doors not to limit you, but to protect you. He will delay certain things not to deny you, but to develop you. When you allow God to lead you, you stop fighting the process and start trusting the purpose. Every day is a new battlefield. The mind is pulled in many directions. The world shouts its opinions. People project their expectations, and anxiety creeps into the soul. But there is one thing that will always silence the chaos. When you surrender your steps to God, because God does not need your strength, he needs your submission. He does not require your control, he desires your trust. When you wake up and say, God, I do not know what this day holds, but I know you hold it, that is when the supernatural begins to flow. That is when doors open that no man can shut. That is when peace enters that no storm can destroy. The problem is not that God is silent. The problem is that we are too loud. We are too busy talking, too busy worrying, too busy planning, too busy trying to fix what only God can fix. But if you would just pause, if you would just be still and allow him to lead, you would realize that his direction is always better than your decision. Allowing God to lead you is not weakness, it is wisdom. It is not passivity, it is power. Because you are acknowledging that you do not see the full picture, but he does. You are saying, I may not understand why this happened, but I trust the one who knows why. You are declaring, even when I can't trace the pattern, I can trust the plan. This is not blind faith. It is sacred faith. It is the kind of faith that moves mountains, calms storms, and builds nations. It is the kind of faith that does not crumble when life shakes you, because it stands on something unshakable. God's leading. When you allow God to lead, your steps will confuse those who don't understand your spiritual rhythm. They will wonder why you're calm when others are panicking. They will wonder why you're silent when others are shouting. They will wonder why you walk away from opportunities that seem perfect. But what they do not see is that you are being led by a divine compass. They do not understand that your timing is not determined by the world's clock. It is aligned. It is aligned with God's season. And when God leads you, you begin to value obedience over opportunity. You stop chasing everything that shines and start waiting for what's divine. Because not everything that looks good is sent by God. Sometimes the enemy decorates distractions to look like blessings. But when you allow God to lead, you will see through the disguise. You will discern what others cannot detect. You will walk with an inner knowing that cannot be taught. It can only be received from above. To allow God to lead you every day means to begin each morning in surrender, not in strategy. It means before you move, you pause. Before you decide, you pray. Before you speak, you listen. Because when you put God first, everything else falls into divine order. You will notice that even the smallest choices begin to align with purpose. You will sense His whisper saying, "Go here." You will feel His nudge saying, "Not now." You will experience moments where everything inside you says yes, but God says, "Wait." And you will learn that waiting on God is never wasted time. It is preparation time. He leads you not only by direction, but by delay. He leads you not only by open doors, but by closed ones. He leads you not only by clarity, but sometimes by silence. Because sometimes God's silence is not absence. It is instruction. It is His way of training your ear to trust His timing. Many people pray for God's blessings, but reject His leading. They want His promises without His process. They want His rewards without His requirements. But when you allow God to lead you, you accept that His way is higher than yours. You stop asking why and start saying thank you. Because even when it hurts, it helps. Even when it confuses, it completes. Even when it delays, it delivers. God does not lead you to break you. He leads you to build you. He does not lead you to frustrate you. He leads you to free you. Sometimes His path will take you through uncomfortable places to stretch your faith. Sometimes He will remove people you love to make room for what you need. Sometimes He will strip away what you thought you couldn't live without to show you that all you ever needed was Him. Allowing God to lead means allowing Him to redefine your comfort zone. When you let God lead, your vision changes. You stop seeing obstacles as threats and start seeing them as tests. You stop viewing delays as denials and start recognizing them as divine timing. You stop fighting against the current and start flowing with His will. You understand that not everything that happens is meant to destroy you. Some things are designed to develop you. You may not see it in the moment, but every step, every detour, every disappointment carries a lesson that is shaping your destiny. God's leadership is never random. He does not make mistakes. If He took you there, it's because there is something for you to learn there. If He allowed it, it's because He intends to use it. So don't resist His leading, reverence it. To be led by God is to walk by faith, not by sight. Sight will deceive you. Faith will direct you. Sight will tell you the path is blocked. Faith will tell you God can make a way. Sight will focus on what you lost. Faith will see what's coming. Sight looks at the visible. Faith trusts in the invisible. That is why you must allow God to lead every part of your day. Not just the big moments, but the small ones too. Because sometimes the smallest decisions carry the greatest consequences. Sometimes one wrong conversation, one emotional reaction, one impatient move can alter your path. But if you let God lead even in the small moments, how you respond, how you speak, how you think, you begin to walk with divine discipline. You begin to carry a quiet strength that cannot be shaken by circumstances. The world will tell you to trust yourself, but self-trust without divine guidance leads to self-destruction. You are not meant to be your own God. You are meant to be guided by God. When you lean on your own understanding, you will make decisions out of fear, pride, or impatience. But when you lean on divine direction, you will make decisions out of wisdom, peace, and clarity. Let God lead you through the unknown. Do not demand to see the whole map. Just follow the next step. Because faith does not reveal the entire journey. It only illuminates the next move. God reveals just enough to keep you dependent, just enough to keep you humble, and just enough to keep you trusting. That is how He trains your spirit to walk by faith and not by sight. When you let God lead, you stop competing with others and start cooperating with purpose. You stop comparing your timeline with theirs. You stop worrying about who is ahead or behind, because you know you are exactly where you are meant to be. You understand that divine timing cannot be rushed or delayed. What is meant for you will find you when you are ready, not when you are restless. Allowing God to lead means trusting His calendar more than your clock. It means saying, even if it hasn't happened yet, it will happen when it's supposed to. Because when you follow divine timing, you are never late. You are perfectly aligned. There are days when you will feel lost, when you will not hear a clear answer, when everything around you seems uncertain. But that is when you must trust God the most. That is when you must remember that His silence is not abandonment, it is direction in disguise. Sometimes He hides Himself not to punish you, but to purify you. He allows silence so that you will learn to listen to the stillness within. Because true guidance is not always loud. It's often quiet. It's not always in the thunder. Sometimes it's in the whisper. When you are sensitive to the voice of God, even the smallest sign becomes a message. Even the simplest moment becomes divine. To allow God to lead you every day means to stop forcing what's not flowing. Stop chasing what keeps running. Stop trying to revive what God is trying to remove. When He leads, He will not always tell you why. He will simply tell you to go. And that's where your faith must rise. Because obedience without understanding is the highest form of trust. It's easy to follow when everything makes sense, but real faith begins when logic ends. Real faith is saying, I don't know how this will work out, but I know God is leading me. And when you move with that kind of faith, doors open that you never even knocked on. People appear that you never even searched for. Opportunities align that you never even imagined. Because God leads those who trust Him more than they trust their own reasoning. When you truly allow God to lead you every day, something remarkable begins to happen inside you. The noise of the world grows faint, and the voice of God grows louder. The pull of fear weakens, and the strength of faith rises. You stop reacting to life, and you start responding to divine instruction. You begin to notice that the things that used to shake you no longer have the same power. You begin to walk through storms without panic because you know who is guiding your steps. When God is leading you, even the unpredictable becomes purposeful. Even what you did not plan becomes part of a greater plan. You no longer question every setback because you know that behind every obstacle lies a hidden lesson. You no longer fear change because you know that God's direction often comes through redirection. Letting God lead every day is not just a decision, it is a discipline. It requires daily surrender. It requires the humility to say, I do not know what is best for me, but God does. It requires the maturity to admit that your plans are not always perfect, but God's will is flawless. You see, the human heart often believes it knows what it needs. But there is a difference between what you want and what will sustain you. There is a difference between what looks good and what leads to peace. And only God can reveal that difference. When you follow your own understanding, you may reach what you desire, but lose what truly matters. But when you allow God to lead, you may not always get what you expect, but you will always receive what your soul truly needs. The challenge is that human nature resists surrender. We like control. We like certainty. We like to plan the outcome before we take the first step. But the path of divine guidance is not a straight road. It is a sacred walk of faith. God will not show you every detail because He wants you to learn trust, not just knowledge. He will not give you the full picture because He wants you to depend on His voice every single day. If He showed you everything at once, you would stop seeking Him. So He reveals His will in fragments, in whispers, in seasons, just enough to keep you near Him. Every morning, you must return to that posture of surrender and say, lead me again, God. Direct me again today. Because guidance is not a one-time event. It is a continual relationship. And when you live in that daily relationship with divine guidance, peace becomes your companion. You no longer chase it. It follows you. Because peace is not found in knowing every answer. Peace is found in knowing who holds every answer. When God leads, you may not always understand the path, but you will always sense the peace. That peace is the signature of divine leadership. It's that calm assurance in your spirit that tells you, even though I don't have everything figured out, I am exactly where I am meant to be. It's the silent confidence that whispers, God is still in control, and that peace will protect you from despair. It will guard your mind from overthinking and your heart from fear. When God leads, He will sometimes take you out of what is familiar to show you what is greater. He will call you away from comfort to prepare you for calling. The people around you may not understand it. They may say you are making a mistake. But when you are led by divine wisdom, you will not always be understood, because the ways of God are not the ways of man. When God leads you, He will sometimes remove you from circles that no longer align with your purpose. He will close doors that others are begging to open. He will isolate you for a season, not because He wants you to be lonely, but because He wants you to be ready. Solitude with God is never wasted. It is sacred preparation. When He leads, He refines. When He leads, He strengthens. When He leads, He teaches you how to hear His whisper in the midst of the world's noise. To be led by God is to develop the art of listening. And listening is not just about hearing words, it is about perceiving direction. God speaks through peace, through silence, through signs, through conviction. Sometimes He speaks through opportunities, sometimes through obstacles, but He always speaks to those who are still enough to listen. If your heart is full of noise, you will miss His whisper. If your mind is full of worry, you will overlook His guidance. This is why spiritual stillness is essential. You must learn to quiet your emotions, to silence your fears, to steady your mind, so that your spirit can receive what God is trying to show you. When you allow God to lead you every day, you learn that delays are not denials. They are divine timing. What seems late to you is right on time in God's schedule. You may be praying for something that has not yet come, but God is not ignoring you. He is arranging everything to align perfectly. There are people He must prepare, doors He must open, situations He must correct before He releases what you asked for. Trust that. Stop measuring God's timing with your impatience. His delay is His protection. His not yet is His way of saying, I am still working behind the scenes. If you force what is not ready, you will ruin what could have been perfect. So wait in faith. Wait in surrender. Wait knowing that when God leads, His timing is flawless. And understand this, when God leads you, He doesn't just change your path, He transforms your perception. You start seeing through spiritual eyes. You begin to notice the hand of God in ordinary moments. A closed door becomes a message. A delay becomes a lesson. A disappointment becomes direction. This is how spiritual maturity grows, through the awareness that God is leading, even when life feels uncertain. The immature demand explanations. The mature simply trust the process because they know that God's wisdom is infinite and His plans are perfect. When you let God lead, you stop trying to control people. You stop trying to fix everything and everyone around you. You learn that your responsibility is obedience, not outcome. You obey and God handles the results. You sow the seed and God determines the harvest. You speak the truth and God changes the hearts. Many lose peace because they carry burdens that were never theirs to carry. They try to be the leader instead of the follower. But when you truly let God lead, you release the weight of control and rest in the power of faith. You begin to live lighter, walk freer, and move with confidence because you know you are not navigating life alone. Letting God lead does not mean life will be easy. It means life will be purposeful. You will still face storms, but the difference is that now you will not drown in them. You will still encounter valleys, but now you will walk through them with peace. You will still face opposition, but you will stand firm because you know who is guiding you. God does not promise an easy path, but He promises a victorious destination. He does not remove the mountain. He strengthens your legs to climb it. He does not always calm the storm. Sometimes He teaches you how to rest in the boat while the storm rages. Divine leadership builds endurance. It molds character. It purifies motives. It transforms your heart until you no longer desire your own will, but only the will of God. When you follow divine direction, you begin to live above fear. You no longer fear what's ahead because you know who is ahead. You no longer worry about tomorrow because you know who holds tomorrow. You begin to understand that even your mistakes cannot derail God's purpose. Even when you take the wrong turn, He can redirect you. Even when you fall, He can restore you. Because divine leadership is not fragile, it is merciful. God knows how to bring beauty from your brokenness. He knows how to turn your detours into destiny, but you must allow Him to take the wheel. Stop fighting for control. Stop trying to plan what only God can plan. You are not the author of your story. He is, and His version is always better than yours. Each morning you rise, remind yourself that today is not yours. It belongs to God. Invite Him into your thoughts, your plans, your words, and your emotions. Do not begin your day in rush and noise. Begin it in surrender and stillness. Say within your heart, God, guide my steps, filter my thoughts, and order my path. When you make that your daily posture, you will notice divine alignment. People will appear at the right time. Opportunities will unfold effortlessly. What used to feel heavy will feel lighter. What used to confuse you will begin to make sense. Because divine guidance removes friction. It replaces stress with serenity and confusion with clarity. When you let God lead, even your mistakes become messages. Even your failures become fuel. Even your pain becomes purpose, because nothing is wasted in divine hands. God uses everything to shape you, strengthen you, and sanctify you. That is why those who allow God to lead never truly lose. They either win or learn. They either rise or are refined. There is no defeat in divine direction. There is only redirection toward what is best. When you truly let God lead your life, you begin to walk with a quiet strength that does not depend on circumstances. You no longer need everything to go your way to feel at peace, because your peace no longer depends on outcomes. It depends on alignment. The storms may rage, people may misunderstand you, plans may change, but your heart remains still. Because you know something others do not. You are being guided by a higher hand. You no longer ask, why is this happening? But rather, what is God teaching me through this? That question alone shifts your entire perspective. Because now, instead of resisting life, you are learning from it. Instead of fighting change, you are flowing with divine purpose. When you let God lead, every challenge becomes a classroom, and every moment becomes a message. Too many people pray for guidance, but few are willing to follow it when it comes. They want divine direction to confirm their desires, not correct them. But true guidance is not about agreement, it's about alignment. When God leads, He will not always tell you what you want to hear, but He will always tell you what you need to hear. And sometimes what you need to hear will challenge your comfort zone. Sometimes His direction will lead you away from what is easy, because ease does not produce elevation. His leading is meant to stretch you, not soothe you, to grow you, not gratify you. And that's why many resist it. They want blessings without change, promises without process, glory without guidance. But if you truly want the life God has prepared for you, you must be willing to follow wherever He leads, even when it doesn't make sense. God's path will never contradict His peace, but it will often confront your pride. He will ask you to release what you think you need. He will ask you to forgive what you would rather resent. He will ask you to move forward when your heart wants to stay still. Because the divine path is not about comfort, it's about transformation. Every time you surrender to God's leading, you shed another layer of fear, ego, and doubt. You become lighter. You become clearer. You begin to move with grace instead of striving. The more you surrender, the freer you become, because the power of divine guidance lies not in control, but in trust. When you allow God to lead you daily, He begins to protect you in ways you cannot see. Some of the people who walked away were not losses. They were divine removals. Some of the doors that closed were not rejections. They were redirections. Some of the plans that failed were not punishments. They were protections. God leads you by what He allows, but also by what He prevents. And one day you will look back and thank Him for every unanswered prayer, because you will realize He was never withholding. He was safeguarding. When you let God lead, you begin to trust that what doesn't happen is just as important as what does. You stop forcing outcomes and you start flowing in divine timing. You stop saying, "Why me?" and start saying, "Thank you for saving me from what I didn't see." Letting God lead is also about letting go. You cannot be led while you are holding tightly to what He is trying to release. You cannot step into the next chapter while clinging to the last one. When God leads, He often begins with subtraction. He takes away what blocks your vision so He can reveal what's beyond it. He removes what you think you cannot live without, so you can discover that He is all you ever needed. Letting go is not loss. It is liberation. When you surrender what you cannot control, you make room for what is meant to be. You cannot carry both control and peace. They cannot coexist. So each day, let your prayer be, "God, take from me whatever keeps me from following you." That is how freedom begins. And as you follow God's lead, you will notice something powerful. He does not lead through fear, but through faith. Fear shouts, but faith whispers. Fear demands proof, but faith trusts presence. When God leads, He does not need to explain every detail. He gives you enough light for the next step, not the whole staircase. Because if you saw everything at once, you would either run ahead or run away. Divine guidance requires daily trust, step by step, moment by moment, choice by choice. And in that rhythm of trust, your spirit begins to mature. You learn patience. You learn discernment. You learn how to distinguish between impulse and inspiration, between emotion and direction, between noise and truth. When God leads, you begin to experience life as a divine conversation. Every event, every encounter, Every delay becomes a part of that sacred dialogue. Sometimes He speaks through peace that settles your heart. Sometimes through discomfort that stirs your spirit. Sometimes through opportunities that open, and sometimes through obstacles that close. But to the one who listens deeply, God is never silent. He is always speaking through nature, through intuition, through circumstances, through the stillness of the soul. That is why allowing God to lead requires sensitivity. You must learn to quiet the outer world so that the inner world can hear. In silence, you will find clarity. In stillness, you will find strength. To walk under divine guidance also means to move with purpose, not pressure. The world will try to rush you, but God will train you to rest. The world will measure your worth by speed, but God measures it by substance. When you let Him lead, you learn that what matters most is not how fast you go, but how faithfully you follow. You stop chasing timelines and start embracing seasons. You realize that everything beautiful in life unfolds in divine order. Flowers bloom when it's their time, rivers flow when it's their time, and blessings arrive when it's their time. When you rush ahead of God, you may enter something prematurely. And what begins in haste often ends in heartbreak. But when you let Him lead, you learn that patience is not passive, it's powerful. It is the posture of trust that says, I will not force what God is still forming. And as He leads, you will notice that your desires begin to transform. What you once wanted no longer satisfies you. The things that used to excite you begin to lose their hold. You begin to crave depth instead of distraction, purpose instead of popularity, truth instead of trends. This is the refinement that comes from divine leadership. God will change not only your path, but your palate. He will purify your desires until they align with His wisdom. That is when true contentment begins. When your heart stops chasing what was never meant for you and starts resting in what is divinely assigned to you. Allowing God to lead you every day also teaches you endurance, because the path of faith is not free from struggle. It is full of sacred strength. When you are led by God, you will not be exempt from trials, but you will be empowered to overcome them. You will learn that pressure is not meant to destroy you, but to define you. Each challenge will refine your character, deepen your trust, and reveal the power within you. Divine leadership does not remove storms, teaches you how to stand in the middle of them. When God leads, even your tears water the soil of your destiny. Even your pain becomes the proof that you are growing. And when you walk closely with God, you realize that the path is not about achievement. It is about alignment. It's not about reaching a destination. It's about becoming who you were meant to be. The goal is not to impress others. It is to live in harmony with divine purpose. Every day becomes an act of worship when you live under divine direction. Every action, every thought, every decision becomes a reflection of surrender. This is where true peace is found, not in doing more, but in being more aligned with God's will. When you let God lead, you no longer fear the unknown, because the unknown is only unknown to you, not to God. He has already walked ahead of you. He has already prepared the way. You may not see it, but He has already arranged every connection. every opportunity, every outcome that you need. Your job is not to predict. Your job is to follow. When you trust that God goes before you, you stop living in anxiety and start living in expectancy. You begin to say, whatever comes, I am ready because I know who leads me. That is divine confidence, not arrogance, but assurance. Assurance that your life is in the hands of the one who never fails. There will be days when you do not feel strong, when confusion clouds your mind, when the path seems hidden. But that is when you must remind yourself, divine leadership is not based on feeling, it is based on faith. Even when you don't feel His presence, He is still leading you. Even when you don't hear His voice, He is still speaking through circumstance. Even when you feel lost, He knows exactly where you are. Your emotions do not define His presence, His promise does. So keep walking, keep trusting, keep surrendering. Because every step you take in faith draws you closer to the purpose that has been waiting for you all along. And finally, when you allow God to lead you every day, you discover the highest freedom, the freedom from worry. You stop trying to control tomorrow because you know that God is already there. You stop fearing what's next because you know that divine wisdom governs your path. You begin to live each day with gratitude, not anxiety, with peace, not panic, with trust, not turmoil. Because to live led by God is to live in alignment with truth itself. And there is no greater strength, no deeper peace, no higher wisdom than walking in step with the one who created you. God has aligned the moments of your life, the thoughts in your mind, and the timing of your day, so that this message would find you at the exact moment He intended. It is not a coincidence. It is divine orchestration. When God wants to speak to you, He does not need an announcement. He moves through the ordinary and transforms it into revelation. This message is a confirmation that something great is about to unfold in your life. Something hidden is about to be revealed. Something delayed is about to be released. Something broken is about to be restored. Before the 9th of November, God is calling you into awareness, spiritual awareness, emotional awareness, and divine awareness. There are times when God's voice whispers through unusual signs. And this message is one of those signs. If it reached you before that day, it means your name is being mentioned in places where your feet have not yet walked. It means your prayers have already been registered in the court of heaven. It means that while all others sleep, God has been working behind the scenes to align events that will shift your destiny. You are about to witness a divine rearrangement. Do not underestimate this moment. Do not take it lightly. God has marked your time. For too long, you have been wondering when your season will change. You have been faithful in silence, patient in pain, consistent in waiting. You have endured disappointments that others did not see, battles that no one understood, and prayers that only God heard. But when the timing of God meets your endurance, miracles break forth. The 9th of November is not just a date. It is a prophetic symbol of completion, a closing of an old chapter, and the rising of a new dawn. When God moves, He moves in His timing, not yours. And this is the sign that your timing has met His. If you are receiving this before that day, it means God is preparing you to cross over into a higher dimension of favor. The tests you endured were never meant to destroy you. They were meant to purify you. Every disappointment was a tool in God's hand. Every delay was divine preparation. You thought you were losing time, but you were being seasoned. You thought you were falling behind, but God was teaching you how to walk at His pace, not the world's. The world runs fast, but God moves with purpose. You were never behind, you were hidden. And when God hides you, it is because He is preparing to reveal you in His glory. Before the 9th of November, you must understand that God is not finished with you. There are things about to happen that you cannot yet see. The people who left you a part of the plan, the opportunities that slipped through your fingers were never meant to stay. You have cried enough tears to water your own garden of destiny, and now the harvest is near. When the hand of God moves, it does not need permission from anyone. He does not consult your past to determine your future. He is not limited by your qualifications or hindered by your weaknesses. When He decides to favor you, everything in creation begins to align in your favor. Congratulations, because if this message reached you before that divine date, it means the heavens are about to remember you. God remembers those who have not been remembered by men. He sees the quiet ones who labor in faith without applause. He sees the ones who give when no one is watching, who forgive when others would seek revenge, who pray when others complain. God is about to reward your quiet obedience. The storms that came against you were not sent to destroy you. They were allowed to refine you. The pain you felt was proof of the calling you carry. The weight of your trials was a sign of the greatness God placed upon your life. You cannot carry a light assignment with a heavy anointing. God strengthens those He intends to elevate. Many people will ignore this message. But if your spirit feels a stirring as you hear these words, it means the message is for you. The world may see it as a coincidence, but God is whispering to your soul, I have chosen you. He is saying, I have not forgotten you. He is saying, this message is your confirmation. Before the 9th of November, God will begin to show you signs of alignment. You will start to see unusual patterns, divine coincidences, unexpected favor, and quiet answers to old prayers. The peace that once felt far away will begin to return to your heart. Doors that were locked will begin to open, not because of your strength, but because of God's mercy. This is your moment of awakening. God has seen your weariness, your confusion, and your exhaustion, but now He says, rise. You cannot stay where you are. You cannot let fear chain you to the past. You cannot keep replaying what went wrong. When God is preparing what will go right, the enemy wants you to believe that your story has ended, but God is still writing it. The darkness you walked through was not your destination. It was your preparation. You were walking through the valley, not living in it. Every valley ends when faith rises. The reason you are hearing this message now is because God wants to awaken something inside of you. He wants to remind you that He has not changed His mind about you. You are still destined. You are still chosen. You are still marked for greatness. It does not matter how many mistakes you have made, how far you have drifted or how tired you have become. When God calls you, He also restores you. When He selects you, He equips you. You may feel unworthy, but worthiness was never a requirement for destiny. Obedience was. Before the 9th of November, begin to prepare your spirit for a shift. Do not look at the date with ordinary eyes. See it as a spiritual checkpoint. It is a line between what was and what will be. Many people wait for signs from heaven, but the greatest sign is that you are hearing this message now. It means God has already begun something in the unseen realm. You may not feel it, but spiritual activity is surrounding your life. Angels are being dispatched. Paths are being cleared. Blockages are being removed. People who once ignored you will be drawn to you, not because of charm or talent, but because God's hand will be upon you. Do not allow doubt to creep in. Doubt is the language of delay. Faith is the language of acceleration. If you can believe, you will receive. If you can trust, you will see. God does not need much. He needs only your belief. He said to trust even when you do not understand. He said to keep walking even when the path is dark. When you walk with faith, light appears one step at a time. The problem with many people is that they want to see the entire road before they start walking. But God gives light for the next step, not the next mile. You must trust His pace. You must trust His silence. Silence is not absence. When God is quiet, it means He is working. There are many of you who have prayed for a breakthrough for years. You have felt forgotten. You have wondered if God still hears you. But let this message be the answer to that question. Yes, He hears you. Yes, He remembers you. Yes, He is about to act. The time between your prayer and His answer is never wasted. It is where your faith is built. You were not waiting in vain. You were being strengthened. The waiting has shaped your spirit to carry the blessing. If God had given it earlier, you would not have been ready. But now, you are ready. The 9th of November will not pass without divine movement. God is setting the stage for your manifestation. He has allowed certain people to exit your life because they cannot walk with you where you are going. He has removed certain opportunities because they would have distracted you from His plan. He has closed certain doors because they were traps in disguise. Every no was protection. Every delay was direction. Every silence was strategy. You may not have understood it then, but soon you will look back and thank God for not giving you what you thought you wanted. Congratulations. Because if you are hearing this, it means your faith is about to be rewarded. God is about to restore your joy, renew your strength, and reintroduce you to the world in His timing. People who overlooked you will wonder how you rose so suddenly, but you will know it was not sudden, it was spiritual. The time you spent hidden was divine incubation. Every seed grows underground before it breaks through the soil. You were not buried, you were planted. Now, the season of breaking forth has arrived. You will soon understand why certain losses had to happen, why certain relationships had to end, and why certain seasons felt endless. God was pruning you so that you could bear greater fruit. The pain was the price of preparation. The tears you shed were not wasted. They watered your purpose. And now the soil of your life is fertile with divine potential. Before the 9th of November, prepare your heart for surprises from heaven. Do not be afraid when things begin to shift quickly. When God moves, He accelerates what once moved slowly. You will not need to chase what is meant for you. It will find you. You will not need to fight for what God has promised. It will rest upon you. If you are still listening, then understand this. You are standing at the edge of your turning point. The old is passing away. The heaviness is lifting. The confusion is clearing. The pain is transforming into power. God is calling you to step into the unknown with faith. Let go of the things that no longer serve your spirit. Release bitterness, release regret, release fear. These are the weights that slow down destiny. You cannot fly if you are chained to yesterday. Trust that God knows what He is doing. The same God who guided you through the wilderness will guide you into the promise. Before that divine date, begin to speak differently, think differently, and act differently. Expect miracles. Walk with confidence. Pray with authority. Speak with gratitude. When you wake up, declare that something good is unfolding. When you feel tired, remind yourself that God never sleeps. When you feel alone, know that God is closer than your breath. Every second that passes before the 9th of November is sacred. Heaven is counting down with you. Every prayer you whisper is echoing in eternity. Every act of faith is drawing divine power toward your life. This is not the time to give up. It is not the time to question your worth. It is not the time to compare your journey with others. Your path is sacred. Your timeline is divine. When God writes your story, no one can edit it. What belongs to you cannot be stolen. What is assigned to your name cannot be reassigned. You have survived too much to quit now. You are too close to destiny to doubt now. The best chapters of your life are yet to unfold, and this message is the divine reminder that your story is far from over. Congratulations, because you are chosen to witness what others only dreamed of. You will see the goodness of God in your life. You will experience His protection, His provision, His presence. The very same hand that lifted you in the past will lift you again. The same voice that called you out of darkness will call you into peace. The same power that sustained you through storms will now open the skies of blessing over your life. This message is not random. It is divine timing. If it has reached you before the 9th of November, then you have stepped into your appointed season. If this message has reached you before the 9th of November, then understand this clearly. You have been chosen by divine timing, not human coincidence. God does not send messages without purpose, and He does not allow His signs to reach hearts that are not ready. The very fact that you are hearing this right now means your spirit has been prepared, refined, and made sensitive enough to perceive divine instruction. There are billions of souls on this earth, yet this word has been directed to you. That is not random. That is revelation. God has decided that your eyes should see and your ears should hear before the appointed time, because He is setting you apart for something that requires awareness before others awaken. God does not reveal His plans to everyone. He reveals them to those who are alert in spirit, those who are not distracted by noise, those who have learned to listen in silence. If this message reached you before the 9th of November, it means you are being called into that inner circle of divine communication. God is whispering instructions that others will only understand later. He is showing you what is coming before it manifests. When God prepares to bless you, He first awakens your discernment. You begin to feel a stirring in your heart, a pull in your spirit, a quiet conviction that something is shifting. That stirring you feel right now, it is the movement of God within you. It is His way of saying, get ready, the time is near. God has not forgotten the tears you cried when no one understood your pain. He has not ignored the nights when you spoke to Him in silence, when your words failed, but your heart still reached upward. Every sigh, every tear, every prayer has been collected. They are stored in the chambers of divine memory, waiting for the moment of release. Before the 9th of November, God is reminding you that He has not been still. He has been watching, aligning, orchestrating. He does not work according to your calendar, but when your calendar and His will align, change happens suddenly. What took years to build can transform in moments when God decides that your appointed hour has come. There are seasons when God hides His hand, not because He is absent, but because He is constructing something unseen. You may have thought He was silent, but He was laying foundations too deep for your eyes to perceive. He was preparing connections, stirring hearts, and building opportunities that would align perfectly with your destiny. And now, He says, look again. Look at the same situation that once looked hopeless. You will begin to see light. Look at the people who once walked away. You will see new faces stepping in with purpose. Look at the work of your hands. You will see fruit emerging where there was once barrenness. When God moves, He transforms ordinary ground into sacred soil. If this message has reached you before, that divine day, it means you are standing in a time of spiritual transition. The old season is ending and a new one is forming, but it requires awareness. Many people miss their blessing, not because God did not give it, but because they were not awake enough to receive it. God can open a door, but if you are too distracted by your wounds, you might walk past it. He can send favor, but if you are consumed by fear, you might reject it. That is why this message has come to you now, to shake your spirit into alertness, to tell you that the door you have been waiting for is near, and you must not sleep while heaven moves. You may have noticed recently that certain things no longer satisfy your spirit. Conversations that once entertained you now drain you. Environments that once felt comfortable now feel empty. People who once understood you now misunderstand you. Do not fight this change. It is spiritual separation. When God begins to elevate you, He detaches you from what can no longer grow with you. You are not losing people. You are losing limits. You are not being isolated. You are being insulated for divine purpose. The discomfort you feel is not punishment. It is positioning. God is shifting you into alignment with His next instruction. Before the 9th of November, God wants you to cleanse your atmosphere. Remove what distracts your spirit. Detach from voices that breed fear, bitterness, and confusion. Make room for His voice because He speaks softly. He does not compete with noise. He whispers, and only those who are still can hear him clearly. The world is filled with opinions, but you must seek divine instruction. What is popular is not always purposeful. What is comfortable is not always divine. You must be ready to obey, even when you do not understand. Faith is not knowing every detail. Faith is trusting that God's details are perfect, even when unseen. The reason God has chosen to reach you now is because He is about to test your readiness. Blessings are not given, they are entrusted. When God entrusts you with a new season, He examines the condition of your heart. Have you learned to forgive? Have you learned to trust when nothing makes sense? Have you learned to remain humble when doors open? These are not small matters. They are the foundation of destiny. God elevates those who are disciplined in spirit. He does not promote those who crave attention. He promotes those who can carry His glory quietly. That is why your path has been different, your journey harder, and your process longer, because your destiny carries weight. There are some people who seem to receive things easily, but their blessings fade quickly because they did not have the character to sustain them. You, however, have been prepared in fire. You have been shaped in silence. You have been refined through trials. God was building your endurance so that when He releases His favor, you will not crumble under it. You are being made into a vessel that can carry greatness without pride, influence without corruption, and abundance without arrogance. That is why this message is your confirmation. Your preparation was not in vain. As the 9th of November approaches, the spiritual realm grows active around you. God is sending clarity into your confusion. He is replacing anxiety with assurance, chaos with peace, delay with direction. You will begin to notice that things you once forced will start flowing naturally. Conversations that seemed blocked will open. Connections that felt random will reveal purpose. Even your emotions will start aligning with peace. That is how you will know that God is near. He never announces Himself with noise. He confirms His presence with stillness. When your heart grows quiet and your spirit grows confident, it means His hand is already upon your situation. God does not operate according to human deadlines, but He often uses them to awaken faith. The date you are hearing before the 9th of November is not a limit, it is a reminder. It is a divine checkpoint that says, be prepared before I move. The movement of God requires readiness. If the rain comes and you have not prepared your field, you cannot gather the harvest. That is why you are being told this now. To prepare your field, your heart, your intentions. Align your motives with purity. Cleanse your mind from fear. Speak words of faith, not doubt. Expect the impossible, because God moves where expectation meets belief. Some of you have been living with silent frustration. You have watched others progress while you remain in waiting. You have seen people with less faith achieve what you have prayed for. But what you do not realize is that God has been testing your patience because He is preparing you for permanence. Others may rise fast and fall faster. But when God establishes you, you cannot be moved. You are not being delayed. You are being deepened. Your roots are going deeper because your fruit will last longer. A tall tree needs deep roots to stand strong against the storm. You have been rooted deep in faith, so that when the winds come, you will not fall. Before the 9th of November, you must also confront your inner fears. Fear blocks faith. Fear tells you that what you see is greater than what God has spoken. But faith tells you that what God has spoken will transform what you see. Do not let fear paralyze your progress. Every time you feel afraid, speak truth to yourself. God is with me. God is guiding me. God is greater than what I face. Fear is the enemy's illusion to make you forget divine reality. Faith is the weapon that destroys that illusion. When you walk with faith, you walk with divine authority. Mountains move not because of your strength, but because of your belief. You are not ordinary. You are not random. You carry a spiritual assignment that requires divine timing. That is why you could not quit even when you wanted to. That is why, despite all the pain, you still had hope. Hope is not weakness. It is the evidence of divine fire still burning within you. The fact that you are still standing after all that life has thrown at you is proof that God's hand has never left you. Many around you fell into bitterness, but you held on to faith. Many gave up on their dreams, but something in you kept saying that something was not human, it was divine. God was whispering endurance into your soul. And now God is saying, the wait has not been wasted. Every silent season has produced fruit. Every painful night has birthed wisdom. Every closed door has redirected you to destiny. The things that once broke you are now the very things building your strength. You are no longer the person you once were. You have matured in faith, deepened in wisdom, and expanded in resilience. Now you are ready to handle what others cannot. That is why this message found you before time. Because you are part of the few who are ready. The coming days will bring divine tests disguised as choices. Be careful what you choose. Every choice either moves you closer to God's plan or further away from it. Not every opportunity is divine. Some doors are traps painted with beauty. That is why you must not rush. Ask God to give you discernment. The closer you are to your breakthrough, the more distractions will appear. But do not fear. God's voice will guide you if your heart remains still. His peace is your compass. Wherever you feel peace, there is His will. Wherever you feel confusion, there is distraction. As this season unfolds, remember, God does not bless arrogance. He blesses humility. He does not reward noise. He rewards consistency. Stay faithful even when it feels unseen. Stay kind even when unappreciated. Stay obedient even when misunderstood. God is measuring your heart, not your results. When the right time comes, He will bring everything together in ways that no human effort could achieve. He will place you in rooms your name could not reach. He will align you with people whose paths you could not have crossed on your own. Congratulations, because if this message reached you before the 9th of November, you are not only seen, you are chosen. Chosen to rise above fear. Chosen to receive divine instruction. Chosen to be a vessel of wisdom and strength. This message is your awakening call. You are standing at the edge of something sacred. God is ready to show you that the years of struggle were not in vain. They were the preparation for your unveiling. Stay firm, stay faithful, and stay expectant. For when God moves, He does so with perfection, and your moment of the divine perfection is drawing near. When God chooses a moment to reveal His will, no force in existence can prevent it from reaching the one for whom it was intended. So if these words have arrived before the 9th of November, count it as sacred confirmation. You have been summoned into awareness. God is calling you to attention because something in the unseen world is preparing to manifest in your favor. There is a spiritual shift occurring around you, a realignment of paths, energies, and destinies. What once felt stagnant is about to move. What once felt delayed is about to flow. God's timing is about to interrupt your ordinary rhythm, and when divine timing meets divine purpose, transformation becomes inevitable. Understand this clearly. God's communication always precedes His movement. Before He changes your situation, He awakens your spirit. He never allows a blessing to enter an unprepared heart. That is why this message has reached you before the 9th. It is not a prediction, it is preparation. God is conditioning your mind to think higher, your faith to believe deeper, and your spirit to see beyond what is visible. He is warning you that what is coming will require spiritual maturity, discernment, and the ability to remain calm in the midst of acceleration. When the flood of change begins, only those who are spiritually rooted will remain standing. Do not misinterpret this season as chaos. It is divine reordering. What feels like disorder is actually God removing what no longer aligns with your purpose. The friendships that suddenly fade, the opportunities that quietly dissolve, the emotions that begin to shift, these are not random. They are evidence that heaven is rearranging your environment. God cannot pour new oil into old vessels. He must empty your surroundings of what is expired so that He can fill you with what is eternal. Let go of what He is taking away, even if you do not understand why. You cannot ascend while clinging to the weight of what was. If this message reached you before that sacred date, it is because you are being entrusted with a new spiritual assignment. The coming days are not just about material change, they are about spiritual elevation. God is calling you into greater responsibility. Responsibility over your thoughts, your words, your energy, and your influence. You have been asking for blessings, but blessings come with accountability. To receive more, you must become more. You cannot carry abundance with a mindset of scarcity. You cannot hold revelation with a heart filled with bitterness. God is cleansing you so that He can use you. He is removing the clutter from your spirit so that His voice can flow through you without distortion. There is something sacred about timing. When God marks a season, everything in creation responds. The air feels different, opportunities become sensitive to your presence, and even your enemies begin to sense your rising. This is that kind of moment. If your spirit has felt restless lately, it is because you are standing in the threshold between what was and what will be. You are not lost, you are in transition. Transitions are uncomfortable because they demand release before reward. You must let go of the familiar to make room for the divine. Many fail this stage because they fear the unknown more than they trust God's plan. But if you truly believe that God is in control, then even the unknown becomes sacred. Before the 9th of November, Practice stillness. The noise of the world is loud right now. Distractions come disguised as urgency. People will try to pull you into conversations that weaken your focus, into emotions that lower your energy, into conflicts that rob your peace. Do not engage. Protect your spiritual atmosphere. Peace is not weakness, it is wisdom. When you stay peaceful, you become a clear channel for divine direction. When your mind is calm, your heart can hear. When your heart can hear, your path becomes clear. The reason this message reached you early is because time is accelerating. What once took months will now happen in days. What once seemed impossible will suddenly align. The energy around you is shifting, and heaven is responding to your faith. That is why your awareness is crucial. Do not live carelessly in this sacred window. Watch your words, watch your thoughts, watch your associations. Protect what God is doing within you. The world may not understand your silence, your distance, or your newfound focus, but that is because they cannot perceive the preparation of God. You are being spiritually recalibrated for greatness. You may feel small right now, but remember, God begins greatness in smallness. He hides glory in simplicity. He births power in quiet places. Do not despise where you are. The same hand that lifted the great will lift you too. Stay steady. Be consistent. Keep showing up in faith, even when results are invisible. You are walking in divine timing, and when the appointed moment arrives, everything that was once confusing will make sense. Congratulations, because if this message reached you before the 9th of November, you are standing at the edge of manifestation. Your name is being spoken in divine places. The doors you once knocked on are being opened without force. The favor you once prayed for is now seeking you. The same God who carried you through every silent season is about to display His power openly. You will rise, not by ambition, but by alignment. You will prosper, not by striving, but by surrender. You will be established not by connections, but by divine command. The message you have received is not an accident. It is your awakening. God is calling you to trust deeper, to release faster, and to believe bolder. He is saying, do not doubt what I have spoken. Do not delay what I have begun. Everything in your life is aligning to fulfill divine purpose. What once felt scattered is now forming harmony. Every experience, good or painful, was part of the sacred design. You are stepping into divine order, and no force can reverse it.